About 1943, there was a prostitute strike. So this is something that happens, like some of the examples that Cal was showing you from overseas, where you see women who are these big organizations that are marching around, where there's a little bit of freedom from fear of being molested, even if you're criminalization women. You see that women, when they're upset, will join in. In the United States, you don't see that as much. It's very hard because we are one of the punitive countries in the world that have prostitution laws. But we had a prostitute strike downtown with girls picketing signs. So everybody can see it, all the newspapers, everybody can see it. You know, but the newspapers did not report it because it was not a savory topic. But people knew. It's hard to miss. You know, because you can see every morning at 9 o'clock there's a line of sailors going around the corner and down the block waiting to get in here for their 5 minutes of fun. And all of a sudden that's not happening, and there's women instead with signs saying, you know, we're sick and tired of the damn cops and all the freaking rules. Give us a break. You know, give us a break. We're working hard. Give us a break. The strike went on for a couple of weeks, and the military morale officers were not happy. They were very unhappy. And the state actually at that time was under martial law. So the civilian authorities really didn't have authority over what was supposed to happen in the state. So the military sat down with the police department and said, "Settle the strike. If the girls within one, shut the fuck up." So the girls went on strike. Thanks to the military. But that left a bad impression of the police and the people in control of the state. They didn't like having the military tolerate prostitution. You know, it's not a very thing. It's bad for our image. We have an image. Hawaiians women in Brooklyn are tolerable. And in 1944, there was either Life magazine or Time magazine, great big story about Chinatown, River Street, prostitution, big color pictures of the military lined up about tolerated brothels. Everybody in the country to see this was going on in Hawaii. And this made, you know, the powerful people in Hawaii, the local people in the government and business, furious. You know, they want to market Hawaii as this, you know, this paradise with palm trees and, you know, family oriented. They still have that term. They did not want to have this image outside. And so they had to find a way to stop the military from tolerating democracy. And it was very clever what they did. Because one of the allies they had is by late 1944, most of the Army and Navy who had been on Oahu in 1943 had shipped to the Western Pacific. So it was a much smaller presence. So it was not as much of an issue. But what they did is they asked the admiral in charge of the Navy, the admiral in charge of the Army, the admiral in charge of the Army, to sign a paper that said in writing that you are forcing the state of Hawaii to accept legal prostitution in contrary to our own laws, where you're a civilian Army and the Navy, you're under law. You have to sign the paper. You sign the paper. You're not going to sign the paper. So then they explained it in my book. The process in September 24th. I'm not sure what happened after that, but there's a report that came in called the Report of the Sanitary Commission, which is also available down to my picture. It came out in 1946, which defended the closing of brothels on health reasons. It was a whole long report with statistics and stuff saying this is a defense of why we did this. So here, you know, it's paid for, by the way, by the people who are responsible for having brothels. So why would they spend money to put out a report to the public to explain when they did it less? The public was happy. The public had gone through this report in 1970. So my understanding or my supposition is that the same thing happened. That we went from the brothels to streetwalking caused union complaints, and the idiots who closed brothels to their mindset. And so you have a response by bringing out a scholar in the paper talking about how this was reducing away all these horrible ills related to public health. Now the problem is that if you read the paper, then it's a joke in terms of the methodology. They'll compare, in one state, here you've got raw numbers of like 100 or 200. Over here you've got percentages. They're comparing raw numbers and percentages. they get odd time frames. Like this is for the 7 months from here to here, and this is for the 11 months. And it's like there's no rhyme or reason how they think these things except to support their argument. The most interesting thing in there is that they were saying that, look, prostitution was illegal at all the other military installations in the country. And they reduced their level of STDs much more than we had in Hawaii. In Hawaii, they hardly went down at all, which proved that the illegal system did more to reduce STDs. The problem with it is then they gave you numbers, which they shouldn't. The number says, here's Hawaii, here's the rest of the country. So the rest of the country went from like triple to maybe double the rate of STDs that we had in Hawaii. And so they say, well, we reduced them because it was illegal. But the thing was, in the legal system, it was lower all along. Which they didn't mention. If the legal system, they required, health checks and stuff like that. It wasn't, really what we knew. But it's an interesting bit of history that this was a tolerated system in our state going before. And people don't seem to recall that. After 1944, when I came here, there's a gap, 1974, 50 years. But when I came here, Chinatown was in crisis. And as far as I can tell from everyone I know in Hawaii, had been in over the crisis for decades prior to that, with gambling, drugs, prostitution, tattoo parlors, strip clubs, hostess bars. You can see the Army and Navy there down at the night. I was first into Hawaii, and people in the night, people in uniform and stuff. There's a lot going on. And certainly a lot of problems associated with that type of environment. Mixing servicemen with too much alcohol and available women who whatever, even have some problems. But anyway, this was, from what I can tell from being in Hawaii in the 70s, kind of what the rest of the community kind of wanted. They wanted a red light. They didn't want red light type activities in Kahala or Manoa or other places. They wanted it in Chinatown. That's where it was. Also, when I came here, the transgender prostitution was already fairly widespread in China. And I wasn't here prior to 1974, but I know of transgender people who were out in the community in the 60s. And at that time, it was really just getting started in terms of its openness in China. And Chinatown, by the 1970s, had become the refuge for transgender people in Hawaii. Everybody who was transgender knew that. That's where you could go and you would be yourself, you would get camaraderie, and you get into all of these, less than safer things going on. That was the environment in the 1970s. Then the city, in its infinite wisdom, decided they wanted to revitalize Chinatown because, hey, people own land there. Their land would be worth a lot more to build expensive high-rises there and putting art museums and stuff rather than having this easy half approach. So why don't we just, bring in, communities and bring in families, and this will revitalize it, blah, 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 which is, all right, forever, but where are the people who've been there going to go? What's the thought process? You've got homeless people, you've got drug addicted people, you've got prostitutes, you've got transgender prostitutes, you've got all of these things going on, and this is where it's going on. And there's this thinking, your plan is it's going to disappear when you bring the building with families. It's not going to disappear. And the people who bring in their children to live in these buildings where they're going to feed their families, they're not going to be happy that it's there. They're going to expect you to get rid of it, which is what's happening now. Now you've got people who moved into Chinatown. They're part of this whole revitalization of the last 10 years has been incredible. If you listen to people down here, what is their attitude? Well, we're trying to develop this wonderful revitalized Chinatown, and we see those people on the streets. And we're offended by them, and why don't you arrest them? Because we're offended by seeing them on our streets. And it's not really a very acceptable solution. It's kind of a world revolves around each other. So, in brief, that's kind of this arc line of how prostitution has developed in Hawaii, primarily in Chinatown, which has been the focus until probably the advent of the tourist industry in the 1960s and 70s. Like, Pam talks about prostitution in